Believing our thoughts. We learn to believe our thoughts very early on. A friend of mine gave me permission to tell this story. She told me that when she was a young child, when she was about seven or eight, she went through a period of being completely terrified when she went to bed at night. And she shared a room with her sister. Her sister seemed to sleep blissfully, but she was terrified of going to sleep. Because when she went to bed at night, she could see that there was a serpent snake that crept in through the window, behind the curtain, and crawled all over the ceiling and landed on her bed. And if she moved, this serpent snake would gobble her up. And she believed that if she told her parents, she would die. And she went to bed every night for over a year, being terrified of this serpent snake that crept in at night through the crack of her window, behind the curtain, all over the ceiling and on her bed. She doesn't remember when it was, but she really does clearly remember this. She remembers after a year or so, she went to bed and she heard the cars tooting their horn. And she became aware that the lights from the car was the snake serpent that had been creeping in behind her curtain all over the ceiling for this year. And she realized then it was all in her mind. Thoughts are not facts. A friend of mine's child, Taylor, broke a leg while playing soccer. How many of you thought that Taylor was a boy? And we do this all the time. We listen to somebody and we assume things and we think they're true. What are you thinking now? What thoughts are going through your head? What did you think when you saw me bring my hands to my head? And the only thing that's happening is that my hands are in my head. But often people can see this and they think she's crying, or they think she's got a headache, or they think something terrible has happened, or they think she's surprised she's won the lottery. People create all sorts of stories to try and make sense of things. That's okay, but we have to remember that our thoughts are not facts. And we have to remember that if we believe our thoughts, we can get ourselves into trouble. How many of you have siblings, and when you get together, you start reminiscing the past with your parents and what it was like growing up in the family household? And often what happens is all of you have a different story to tell about the same incident, and all of you think you're right. All of you believe that your thoughts are facts, but they're different stories. Did you know that when the police receive an identical witness report, they're suspicious because they know that humans don't remember things in the same way, and they know that humans perceive things differently. Here's an exercise I do with myself. Sometimes I like to go for a walk along the river. So I walk along the river and I notice all the things on my walk. And then when I turn around and come back exactly the same way that I walked, I become aware of different things that I notice. And it makes me smile because it makes me see that I'm seeing things from different points of view. So even if you cannot believe that thoughts are not facts, you can at least begin to see things from a different point of view. So when a thought arises, I need a drink, you could begin to see that from a different point of view and actually think, actually, I'm thirsty, and maybe what I need is just a drink of water or a cup of tea, rather than interpreting, I need a drink, I need an alcoholic drink. These are some of the ways we can begin to disidentify with our thoughts. When we believe our thoughts, it's almost as if we are turning away from our internal barometer. We're turning away from our feeling tone.